Coming up on Cardinals Insider, we remember the life and legacy of Whitey Herzog.
And then you start thinking about all the people, good people you work with, all the good people you work for, all the good coaches that work for you.
Looking at every aspect of his Hall of Fame life and career, including the club's 9th World Series championship.
It just seemed like everything just fell together because of the type of people I had.
And I'll offer my own thoughts on my manager and friend. All that and more ahead on this special episode of Cardinals Insider, dedicated to the Hall of Famer, Whitey Herzog. Welcome to Cardinals Insider. I'm Ozzie Smith. We bring you this show with heavy hearts after the loss of icon Whitey Herzog. He was a great leader, a baseball visionary, and a true friend. His remarkable baseball life led all the way to Cooperstown.
I don't know what to say. It's just hit me kind of quick here, and we're very happy about it, and just so we could bring a world championship to St. Louis, and we're the greatest guy in the world, Mr. Bush.
When something like this happens to you, you say to yourself, how did this happen? And then you start thinking about all the people, good people you work with, all the good people you work for, all the good coaches that work for you. And I'm not here because I'm a player. I'm here because of managing. And I had a lot of good players play for me. None of this would happen if it hadn't been for illustrious people that just helped me. I was a 17-year-old, 5'10", 150-pound outfielder from New Athens, Illinois. Wasn't a very good player, but I did get 9 years in the big leagues, and there was only 16 teams and 50-some minor leagues, and I got my pension. And you know, when you have something like this happen to you, I got a great family, and the reason I got out of baseball when I did, I wanted to spend a little time with them, and I certainly didn't think I could find another Gussie Bush. Every question that anybody asks me is this: what's it feel like to be a Hall of Famer? Being elected to the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, is like going to heaven before you die. Thank you very much.
We're just getting started. More on the life and legacy of Whitey Herzog when Cardinals Insider returns. Whitey Herzog was a Midwest kid turned major leaguer and eventually Hall of Fame manager. Our Emily Stevens has more on his journey through the game.
It's time for a Cardinals Legends profile. Darrell Norman Elvert Herzog managed the Cardinals for just over a decade. And what a decade it was. Some like to say baseball in St. Louis was reborn in the 80s, thanks to the White Rat. While the nickname may sound strange to some, to St. Louis, it was an honor. Whitey had extensive background in player development and built his team, a group later referred to as the Rat Pack. Fans quickly fell in love with the team's style of play known as Whitey Ball, primarily focusing on pitching speed and defense. Whitey Ball was known for excitement that turned into winning, eventually defining one of the greatest eras in Cards history.
Whitey was probably as aggressive and creative with defensive shit than anybody I know. He kept his own personal spray charts. I'd watch this man show up the park with his bag and his colors and his ruler and his papers. Finally, one day, late in my career, I just asked him, "What are you doing?" And he showed me, explained to me. I thought he was just coloring.
Whitey was always 3 steps ahead of the other dugout, widely known as one of the best minds in baseball history. That baseball IQ won him National League Manager of the Year in 1985. For a time, he even served as both manager and general manager of the club, a rare feat in the modern era. But Gussie Bush allowed Whitey to build the club he would manage.
A swing and a miss, and that's a winner! A World Series winner for the Cardinals!
In 1982, the Cardinals won the World Series for the first time in 15 years. 1982 was a season to celebrate. It was a magical year full of backflips, elite pitching, powder blue jerseys, and a style of baseball that you just don't see anymore. The Cardinals retired number 24, and Whitey headed to Cooperstown in 2010. He's been a player, a manager, a GM, and the White Rat. And to St. Louis, he will forever be a Cardinals legend.
When the show continues, Whitey tells us about his 1982 World Series winner. That's after the break.
So hit me with the light. We'll be alright. Does it feel like summer? Long as it feel like summer.
1982 was my first season here in St. Louis, and Whitey's proof of concept that speed, pitching, and defense could stand atop the baseball world. Here's more on Whitey's World Series winner.
I think the big thing with Gussie was, he hadn't been in the World Series since '68. And he kept talking. He wanted to get there one more time. And at the time, he said, all I want is ride the Clydesdales in another World Series game. Just one more time, he said, before I pass away. And Gussie said point blank, he says, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to clean house. I want to go a different direction. I want to get every scout in here. I want us to start drafting where speed is the most important thing. I want every left-hand hitter in the minor leagues that we have already signed to see if they can switch hit, and we'll go from there. So to my surprise, he said, do it. When we got Ozzie after that, bringing him to my ball club and seeing him in spring training, he was the icing on the cake. I mean, I knew he was great, but I didn't realize that he was as good as he really was. We played baseball, we had to play baseball different than anybody else. But the funny thing was, we got so good at what we were trying to do that we scored just as many runs on the road by doing the things that we did fundamentally. Picking up the runs, having a guy on second with no outs. If we didn't get a hit, we advanced him to third. Or it didn't take a hit to get that run home. In the early innings, if we got Ronnie Smith on second, I'll guarantee you, got him to third. Ozzie got him to third when he had second. And it was just amazing. And then, of course, you got Hernandez up there, a great contact hitter that put that ball in play. They'd play back, he did a grounder. If he didn't get a hit, he did a hard grounder at second base. And we had one run. And all of a sudden, instead of being down 4-2 in the seventh, we're up 4-2. And that's how we continued to win. It just seemed like everything just fell together because of the type of people I had. Bruce Sutter, for the 7 years before he left and went to Atlanta, he was the most dominant relief pitcher I've ever seen. When I brought him in a save situation, he got it done 95, 98% of the time. But my 10 years here, and the fact of my relationship with Gussie, is really the reason I never went back to managing. So I've had a wonderful life, and it's been because my relationship here, starting in St. Louis, I had a wonderful life.
1982 was possible because of Whitey's vision and Gussie Busch's trust in him as a manager and executive. Two roles he once held simultaneously. Our Brett McMillan has more.
The date is August 26, 1980. First-year Cardinals manager Whitey Herzog had been on the job just a little over 2 months, but it was clear to him that he needed to remake the roster in order to formulate a winner.
He wanted control over player transactions and in-game strategy, but needed a new title to do it. Whitey went to Grant's Farm to pitch his idea to owner Gussie Busch. Herzog asked to be made manager and GM while staying at the same salary. Gussie signed off, and Whitey became the first man to serve in both roles since Connie Mack in the 1950s. He wasted no time building a roster built on speed, pitching, and defense. At the 1980 winter meetings, Whitey took part in trades involving 16 different players. The most notable additions that winter were closer Bruce Sutter and catcher Darrell Porter. The next offseason, he was back at it, adding 2 to the outfield. One was 1980 Rookie of the Year contender Lonnie Smith. He also sent pitcher Bob Sykes to the New York Yankees for a mostly unknown Double-A outfielder named Willie McGee.
Well hit, way back. Listen to the reaction. Oh, ball. What a catch he made, Willie McGee. Willie McGee.
But the biggest trade came in December of '81 as Whitey snagged 2-time reigning NL Gold Glove winner Ozzie Smith from the Padres. He finally had his winning roster, so 3 games into the '82 season, Whitey relinquished GM duties to Joe McDonald, a decision which paid off quite nicely.
A swing and a miss, and that's a winner! That's a winner! A World Series winner for the Cardinals!
August 26, 1980, the day Whitey became GM and manager, and a day that changed Cardinals history. For Cardinals Insider, I'm Brett McMillan.
When we come back, Cardinals President Bill DeWitt III talks about Whitey's impact on the St. Louis community. That's in just a moment. Whitey Herzog understood how to win on the field and connect with the community off of it. Here's Team President Bill DeWitt III with more on Whitey's wide-ranging impact on St. Louis.
Well, Whitey's meant so much to the Cardinals. He's been in this community for a very, very long time, ever since he got here in the early 80s. And, there's a whole brand of baseball named after Whitey. Not many guys can say that. And it just speaks to the impact he has had, not just on the field because, he was a world champion manager and general manager and led these great teams that we had in the 80s, but he was such a personality, he was such a character. It's such a part of St. Louis and the fabric of our history that it's really hard to state into words how much he means to us as an overall organization and as a city. Whitey was in a lot of places. He would come to a number of games, probably 15 to 20 a year. He watched every game. He could tell you who was hot and who was up and who was down, and I would often run into him and he'd have very specific advice for me about what we should be thinking about or doing with certain players, and he was usually spot on. But he was, on our Red Ribbon Committee and helping us elect Hall of Famers. He was very instrumental in getting a better feel for those players that were starring in the 80s, and he brought so much to the table wherever he was. He kind of lit up the room and was usually the center of attention. He was very much a people person, and he loved being with people. His numbers retired with us, and he was a Cooperstown Hall of Famer, and he's wearing that Cardinal cap in Cooperstown. So we do think it's appropriate to have a sleeve patch in memoriam for Whitey. It'll take us a minute to get that ready and figure it out with the clubhouse and getting it on the uniforms, etc. But we can look forward to that as well as a great way to remember Whitey throughout the rest of the season.
Last year, Whitey joined 2011 World Champion Kyle McClellan on the Chatter's Box podcast. The pair talked about moments from Whitey's life and his views on the game. It was a memorable conversation.
All right, welcome back to the Chatter's Box, and today is my privilege to have the Hall of Famer, Whitey Herzog, with us. And the reason I'm so excited about Whitey, I've had the privilege of being around Whitey for so many years and heard so many of your stories and great conversations, and I'm excited to bring that to the fans. And our hope is you're going to get a taste of what it's like sitting with Whitey in the locker room or at lunch and just talking ball.
I got to St. Louis not knowing anything about the National League. I spent all my time. I was a very mediocre ball player. I was what you'd call a hanger-on for 8 years, a fringe player. I often got a kick out of Mr. Rowland, who I want to congratulate about the Hall of Fame, because he got upset because Tony didn't tell him he wasn't in the lineup. Well, I didn't worry about that when I played. I worried about coming to the ballpark to make sure I had a locker. I was at the managers' meeting in Atlanta. And every year, the managers that are under contract have a luncheon at the winter meetings. And McKeon and Dick Williams, who was a very good friend of mine, teammate in Baltimore and Kansas City, his player, they said, "Are you still interested in Ozzie Smith for Templeton deal?" And I fell off the chair. I couldn't believe it. And I said, "Ozzie, here's what I want to do. If you come to St. Louis and play for me, I will give you $400,000 next year. At the end of the year, if you don't like me, you don't like St. Louis, and you want, I will give you your release if you so desire. But if you like me and you like St. Louis and you want to stay in St. Louis, I will sign you to a long-term contract." I enjoyed my time here so much, Kyle. And even today, I'm 91. I go to the bank, the gas station, the grocery store. People come up to me and want to shake my hand and thank me for 10 years of exciting baseball. 10 singles, we could entertain people. Man, we could play.
And up next, I share what Whitey meant to me. Back with more of our Whitey Herzog special after the break. Welcome back. We've lost some remarkable Cardinal legends in recent years, and all of them hold a special place in my heart. But Whitey's loss carries extra meaning for me. I played the game hard and left it all on the field, so playing for him was a natural fit. He too was bent on competing at the highest level, a tireless worker, innovative, and obsessed with winning. He wanted to deliver for his players and for you, the fans, because Whitey treasured the legacy of Cardinals baseball. He vowed to advance it, and he certainly did. In December of 1981, he asked me to waive my no-trade clause to come here. His pitch was simple. You love baseball, so does this city, and if you come here, they'll love you too. He also told me that if I came, we could win the World Series. Whitey was right, as he so often was. I grew to love St. Louis, its home, and we did in fact capture a World Series that very season. Whitey changed my life, and I'm not the only one. He always stood up for his guys to the very end. That's the true mark of a champion. Yes, trophies, rings, and pennants matter, but the game's greatest prizes are the relationships and the human moments it creates. I lost a manager, but more than that, I lost a great friend. The game and our community are a little worse off today without Whitey Herzog. It will forever be a great privilege to have my name connected with his in the rich history of our game. We have one final segment for you when our Whitey Herzog special returns in just a moment. Whitey is one of the few people to ever have a style of play named after him. Whitey Ball electrified St. Louis and all of baseball for an entire decade, leading to 3 pennants and some of the best moments in club history.
Ozzie comes up with it, throws, and they got it! Oh at home tonight.
Those are certainly great memories from a special era. Thanks for joining us as we remember Hall of Famer Whitey Herzog. We'll be right back here next week with a new episode. And for everyone involved with the show, I'm Ozzie Smith, and we'll see you next time.